Hey, Wargamers of D&D Club. This is Clifford, one of the leadership for the club, and the guy that's running the crusade that we're going to do starting next weekend. I'm going to go over some of the information that you'll need and whether or not it's an optional tool I suggest versus something that I actually need for you to give to me, since this is technically a semi-tournament format that we are running here. So for that reason, I need certain things that will by rules definition be set in stone, sent to me ahead of time. That way, people don't have any risk of cheating or accidentally forgetting what they had. So you will need to fill out one of the things that I'm going to teach you here today, and that's just how it's going to be. So what these things are going to be the how to use the core rules on Wahapedia for both normal games, which will be your big battles that we're going to run. That's the main Crusade game. Then also Kill Team, which is a side game that we're going to add in, and those are the modified rules that you can find on the Discord channel under the Crusade stuff chat that's going on, which is where I've been posting announcements for all of you guys about how this is going to work. So, I'm going to start with just saying this. Uh, I'm going to cover some key terms during all of this as well. They are going to be really important. I'm going to explain a few of them right now, as well as explaining what of the three things I think will be useful for you for different use, like for different aspects of playing. So Wahapedia is a good general way if you want to just read up on stuff, but don't really want to use it as an organizational tool because one, it's just a web page. All you need to do to go through it is the fact that, well, you need to be able to read a web page and click buttons. Things like BattleScribe will be better for building actual forces. And then the Crusade template thing here, this is going to be how you're going to actually list down everything you're going to be using. And the specifics of that I will get into now with some terminology. So, Crusade Force. Crusade Force is going to be, think of it as a pool of units you may draw from every time you have a match. So, for instance, you might have 8 units on this list and those 8 units are the 8 units you were able to choose from, put into a separate smaller group, and then take that smaller group into battle. That smaller group, for the purpose of this video, we're going to call it your battle roster. Some of the things you'll need to know for both building your Crusade Force and battle roster will be points, power level, equipment and war gear, psychic powers and similar abilities, detachments, and battlefield role. A couple of those things you'll note are on the Crusade template here that I'm going to teach you all how to fill out and how to use some of the automation features on this fill out. I will mention now, if I haven't already mentioned it, because I honestly can't remember if I did or not, you need to fill out this Crusade's template stuff. These things, I need a share link from anyone that wants to participate by next Thursday or next Friday, preferably at the latest. Again, we're not going to be super serious at this. This is a fun narrative tournament, not like a hardcore come to win, like use net meta lists that you find off the internet. Don't take your power gamer status is not fully required, nor do I suggest doing it for the purpose of fun. For those of you that know what this means, this is your time to take off meta units in your army because, well, this type of game, this crusade style of playing Warhammer, is one of the best times you'll ever get to do it. So if you have one of those things where you're tired of using the meta, go off meta. You'll have more fun. I guarantee it. Now then, with the dates on when I need these by out of the way, let me explain, like I said I was going to, the different terminology bits. So Crusade Force, like I said, that's just everything you're going to put on this list. It's the overarching pool you'll pick from. Battle Roster, that is the list that you'll have created when you pick from your Crusade Force. It's the smaller pool that you'll take into battle, and that's just everything you'll have for a match. Points is a type of value rating that every unit has, as is power level. Both of those are ways to rate the strength and value in a comparable aspect to other factions' various units as well. For the purpose of this game, we're going to be using both. I'll explain that, the reasoning behind that later, but just know that points is one way of doing it, power level is the other. Power level is less balanced and points is more balanced, which is why we're going to do a mixture of both to give people versatility, but also still making things balanced. Equipment and war gear, that is the stuff that your units are using. Those things are, well, a lot of units have a way to pick and choose what they have, sometimes model by model. So you can have lots of mixed weaponry in a unit sometimes. Psychic powers and similar abilities basically just qualifies anything that is similar to or is a psychic power. We're going to need to understand that because equipment and psychic powers or similar abilities like litanies, as well as Catan shard powers, to name some other examples, both of those are going to be set in stone. That's your equipment and psychic power slash psychic power equivalents. Those are not going to be changeable once you make your list official and send it to me. Detachment, that is a more of a list building, a battle roster thing. I'll explain that in more detail later, but just note that basically there's styles of army organization that give different benefits and allow for you to pick different combinations of troop types. Troop types, notably being the battlefield role. That's what that means. There are HQ units, troops, uh, there are your fast attack, your elite units, your heavy support units. You've also got things like specific flyers, so like planes and stuff. You've got your bigger centerpiece models that are called, oh, I'm forgetting the term off the top of my head, but you'll see them later on. Um, that like some of the big things that we probably won't end up ever seeing, but just note that there's a few different types. That's what the battlefield role is. When I reference a battlefield role, you'll see in the drop down later what they are. In fact, I'll just show them all to you now. These are your battlefield roles that you'll have, basically. Just note that each unit has them. I suggest taking a couple of each because different types obviously have different strengths and advantages. Um, now then, starting off with Wahapedia. Wahapedia is just a simple index of the modern 9th edition, which is what we're using, and then Kill Team, which is also the most updated version of Kill Team. These are those right here. 9th edition is going to have the narrative play rules, which is what we've got right here. This is what we're using for the most part, save the modifications that are in the Discord, like I said. You'll need to read some of the basics of this. Mostly it'll be these things at the top here that you'll want to read about. Because the rest of this is just bonuses and stuff that'll happen as we go, or things like mission randomizing, because we'll randomize the missions you guys will be playing. The only exception to that might be some of the special rules about splitting units and battle scars, because this is a narrative game. So the unit you take in on one battle, if you take it into a second battle, they might be better because they get upgrades, experience points, for those of you that play D&D and know that really well, which I think is all of us, which is nice. So think of this as your troopers being the same guys from the last battle and leveling up as they progress throughout the narrative campaign. Now then, some of the most important things to note will be the fact that your Crusade force, that's what I'm going to teach you to do on this template, the exact way that this works and why it's important, and why it's something I need for you to send to me can be explained here. The big reason why I need you to send it to me is because once you've picked this and what you want to put on your Crusade force, once you've picked that overarching pool, that can't be changed, including things like the war gear and psychic powers, as I mentioned earlier. That is set in stone, so it makes a level playing field where people don't keep constantly trying to out meta change each other. I'm sorry, not meta, but like meta game. Imagine spending 3 hours where both sides keep back and forth changing their list as each other changes their list. For those of you that play DM duels, you'll understand what this is. Basically, you pick your list before you show up, and once you show up, that's the list you've picked. You don't get to change it before the match because you looked at the other guy's sheet and decided, ah, shit, he brought a lot of tanks and I don't have anti-tank. That's too bad. Sorry, you didn't build a well-rounded list. That's your fault. Now deal with it. I know that might sound harsh, but that's how tournaments usually work, and since this is pseudo-tournament, we are going to follow that style. Now then, the kill team rules I'll go into later, but just note that you can read about how those are going to work also on here. They're really easy to understand because the only difference is going to be the missions. Otherwise, it's kill team as kill team plus one other minor modification depending on who you put in the kill team. To compare them, think of our normal Crusade missions as proper all-out war, and think of kill team as spec ops missions, basically. Now then, you'll want to go through the factions on Wahapedia for those of you that haven't already decided. The various factions are Imperium, Chaos, Eldari, and then some of the various Xenos groups here. In fact, you can see what that faction, see right here. These are your factions: Imperium, Chaos, Eldari, Tyranids, Orc, Necron, and Tau. Genestealer Cult is not listed, but for the purpose of this, you can simply just put NIDS down and make it clear that you are using Genestealer Cults by naming them something that sounds, well, more like what a group of humans would name themselves, not like what a group of humans would name a group of monsters, if that makes sense. Basically, if you play Tyranids, call yourself a Hive Fleet. If you play the Genestealer Cultists, still click Tyranids, but then make your name something culty sounding, like the Servants of the Star Gods or whatever, is a great example. That's up to you. That Crusade Force name is a free space. Anyways, so you'll pick something. You'll go through all of their rules, their special rules, and how some of the abilities work for, because each army is quite unique in their abilities and stuff. They'll get special detachment rules if you make a detachment that's all one specific group. And one other thing to understand here is that a lot of factions have sub-factions, obviously, as you can see. Within said sub-factions, there are yet more sub-factions. The Adeptus Mechanicus is a great example. The Adepts of Mars, the Tech Priests, for those of you that know 40k, they can pick yet another thing to label their entire army as, the Forge World keyword. You'll need to pick one of the different Forge Worlds in order to get a couple of extra special abilities. I suggest for anyone playing to not mix and match various double sub factions. If you want to, you could. So you could, in fact, you could just mix normal sub factions. Any of the overarching categories here. So any Imperium, Chaos, Eldari, Tyranids, Orcs, Necrons, Tau Empire sub factions can all be put on the same list. Just understand you might lose out on special abilities if you do so, and you're going to be possibly struggling if you do it that way. And within that, if you play just one of the bigger sub-faction lists, so like say you played Mechanicus, you could technically mix and match Forge Worlds between units. Just understand that, again, you might be handicapping yourself by doing it, because mixing and matching units within a detachment means they don't get any of these sub-faction picks. So be very careful with what you do. Now, once you've found something you like, say, all right, I really like these, and let's see what their units are. So you can go to this skull, hover over it, and go to Data Sheets Collated, and this will just list you the different unit options they have for each battlefield role. These are the HQs, these are the troops, these are the dedicated transports, the elites, the fast attack, flyers, and the heavy supports. Under this, you'll be able to see keywords, which will be important because certain things like Belisarius' Call, technically speaking, are set in stone. A lot of named characters can't be given different, like, say, Forge Worlds or different specific faction keywords. You won't get to pick that double sub faction. But things like a Marshal here, you notice it says Forge World keyword. You can just put any of those ones we saw earlier here. That'll be what you'll do. All of these guys, you'll be like, all right, I want to run Mars, or I want to run the other ones that we saw, like Lucius, Scria, Styges, or Styges, Ryza. You'll pick that to fill in this keyword here. That's what these bracket, or what are those, I guess. I don't know what the exact keyboard term is. I'm going to call them brackets for the purpose of the video. But anything in something like that, that's one of those things that I'm talking about. That's your sub-faction denominator, your double sub denominator. Once you've figured out like a faction that you like, you're like, all right, yeah, there's a few things in here I could see myself really enjoying, and a few things that I'm not sure about, or whatever your reasoning behind picking a faction. And once you've done that, you'll probably want to mark that down under your order of battle here and say, blah, 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 I'm ready to go. And then the fun part comes in. This is where you start using Wahapedia to go over different units and actually starting to decide on how to pick them and put them in here, which I will show how to do later. Now then, I'm going to point out some of those keywords I mentioned earlier. Battlefield role, HQ, power, power level or power rating. Both are interchangeable terms, notably. 3, points cost. This is the cost of one of these guys, here in red, 45 points. You'll want to keep in mind that we need both of these, so don't forget to know, like, don't forget how to look for those things. Another reason why points matter is that you'll notice your power level doesn't really go up depending on what weapons I give him, but because of these war gear options here, I can replace one of his guns with a different one, and that different one might incur a points cost though. So a 75 point dude with base gear, if I want to give him the eradication ray, he's now an 80 point model. That's why we're using points and power level together, because on a match by match basis, we're going to make sure people are equal in points, not power level. But your overall starting army needs to just have 50 power level. And the reason I've done this is that you can pick whatever weapons you like for your overall crusade force. But that's very unbalanced to make that how you match make. 10 power level of Space Marines wins 99% of the time against 10 power level of NIDs, let's say. It's just unfortunate that without forcing point cost when you play matches, that a lot of things win out. Because power level, if we matched power level, means that you could take the most expensive options without actually increasing this power level. You can see how that might get unfair. But I digress. You figured out that, like, all right, I want to use this one and blah 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 blah, and I'm starting to understand like the various stratagems that I like and what I want to, and like, yeah, I could get behind some of their abilities and special things that they can do. So okay, this is good. I like these stratagems that these guys have. I'm gonna play in Mars. All right, we've gone through Wahapedia. What do we do now? Well, now that you've got all the info and know where to find it on Wahapedia, that's when you'll build your crusade force. So I'm going to teach you how to do that now. Now, I will mention that the process here is not necessarily recommended for workshopping your composition. If you want to workshop stuff, I might suggest BattleScribe more, or even just pen and paper. Or if you really want to use this, because I'll admit it is convenient in some ways that BattleScribe will not be, and you'll see why later. Um, you could just do this. You're going to want to go to the link I shared in the Discord anyways and make a copy for your personal drive. What you could do is you can then, from that copy in your personal drive, make another copy from it and call this the workshop copy. And then this can be your, so I'll call this, say, this is my official Crusade template. I can workshop and think about how the power level lines up, because this thing will auto total power level for the stuff that I put in it. See? So you can use one of them as a workshop thing, and then once you're done, just copy paste it over to this. The reason I suggest that is because sometimes the automation on this breaks. I am sorry that that is very inconvenient for you, but it's a lot easier than paper. This Crusade card thing that we're using, these Excel spreadsheets, these were made by just some dude who really likes the game and found it really difficult to handwrite out all of the Crusade information. So he did his best to automate a lot of it, so that way you get, like, you see like how this pulls from Crusade card 1. Crusade card 1 here will end up pulling from the batch edit stuff that you put down here. And basically it's not a perfect system, but it's better than doing it by hand. So just go with me on this, please. You need to give me this to do this, which is why I'm going to teach you how to do it here. Anyways, okay, so I don't need to workshop, maybe. I know what I want because I've played this game before. All right, well, what do I want? I'm going to put down their name, their battlefield role, keywords, power rating, and their equipment, and if they have them psychic powers, and then I will click this update crusade card. That'll be how you get from a blank list to something more along the lines of this one. It's pretty useful, huh? So, with that, you'll be done because this will autofill a bunch of stuff in for you. Now, I should mention something though. The first three columns on the batch edit page, which by the way, the batch edit page is the go-to way to fill out if you want to use automation. You'll be able to see this here on the read first page, which I do suggest you doing as a reminder. If you want to use the automation, you should start with the batch edit page, which is what I'm going to show you here. Or you can manually fill stuff out. I should mention that manually filling things out will break automation. Again, another good reason to have 2 copies in your personal drive. Because the reason I say that is because I realized that these first 3 lines on the batch edit, which transfers over to the first 3 on this order of battle page, um, they don't properly transfer. So what I will suggest you do is that when you're doing your list, if you would like to use automation, fill these out with junk and then in just some way where you know that they're junk, and then start at this row. This will be row 7, but is labeled as row 4 on here. That's where you'll put your first thing you're putting in your list. And so that's what I'm going to do with this one for you guys, just so that way you can see it. So let's go through. So A, 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 B, B, A, B, C. Yay, their battlefield role doesn't matter, but let's just say that they're not applicable because that way I don't get confused. And I'll put NA on everything else for them. So while I'm doing this, once I'm done with this though, we're going to start with actually putting stuff down. So we'll, first and foremost, obviously, what's the name of the thing? Now, if you'd like, um, you can put like custom names. So like say that for the Adeptus Mechanicus army, which is what I'm going to build as an example. Say I want to take a Scutari Marshal, and because they're Scutari, I want to give him a really unique name. Let's name him Scutari Marshal ZB309. That's Scutari Marshal ZB309. Hey, I've given a custom name. That's fine. As long as you include the official name of the unit so that it's clear to me as your organizer what you're using, I don't care. Then, of course, battlefield role HQ from the dropdown, and then we go into the meat of it, the keywords. So, you're going to see faction keywords and infantry keywords. You're going to need both. I will say this, that the the regular keywords, those are going to be more useful on a lot of things than these ones. You can think of these ones down here as things that might represent like ability to hold objectives, whereas this represents a lot of your ability to use things like those stratagems. And I'll explain more about what those are later for those that are new. But you're going to want to put all of them down for sure. And the Forge World one, notably, you're going to want to replace that in this case. And the same thing will be true for those of you doing factions that have sub-factions within them and like all of that stuff. Make sure to replace it. So let's say that for my purposes, I've decided I would like to run Forge World Lucius, let's just say. So what I'll do is you can replace that, and I suggest keeping these on the outside of it just so you know that it's that thing. That way when you're looking back at your rules and something says brackets Forge World, you'll know, okay, so brackets Lucius is what mine actually says, basically. Um, Now then, I've put that in, and then the unit type, we're going to ignore for now. The power rating of this guy that I had, we're going to put that in next. So we're going to put in his power rating of 3. Oop, ta-da. Crusade points, those are going to be things we're going to get during battle, so don't worry about it. Equipment, this is something that will matter now. So we're going to want to go through and, hey, Skitari Marshal has a Radium Serpentia. And place this plain text is probably going to be useful, so that way you don't get all this weird coloration. I think that's Control Shift V usually on most computers, by the way. And then we are good. He's got that in. He doesn't have psychic powers, so now all I need to do is write down his points costs. And now you'll note, Cliff, there's no points costs area on here. That's what we're going to use unit type for. Because unit type, I believe, from what I've come to understand, is technically where I'm supposed to put the faction keywords. It's not very clear what this is for, in my opinion. I don't really understand it. I don't think there's any reason why we wouldn't want to just use it for this, though, because we can put all the keywords just under keywords, right? So that is what I will tell you all to do. That is what you should do. You should follow this format to the letter. Now, Cliff, what do I do if I have equipment options, right? I mentioned that earlier, that will be important. So let's go down to some of the troops, which tend to have a lot of equipment options, as you can see. So I'm going to take some rangers in my army also. Okay, and there the troops roll. And then I'm going to give them all of their things here. So they've got this. And they've got this. And I'll put it in front technically because I did do that. And again, I'm going to put down the Lucius keyword. All right. And then now we get into their power rating real quick, which you'll note this is one of the few times it can change. So these guys can be anywhere from a 5-man squad up to a 20-man squad. Base, they will come with 1 Ranger Alpha and 4 Skitari Rangers. That's what this number means. The minimum number is the one listed here, and then the maximum number of a certain type within a unit is the one on the other side there. So you'll note that the points cost is not different. The only thing is that think of this Alpha as a sergeant. He has a better leadership. For those of you that know what that means, I don't need to go into detail. For those of you that don't, ask others to teach you how the base rules work. That's not what this video is for. But, okay, let's say that I want this to be a 5-man squad. That's something that will also need to be put down here. Reason being is 1, it determines points cost and power rating, and much like equipment and psychic powers, once you pick the size of a squad, that squad is always that size on your roster. There are some rules that mean that once a game starts, you can split squads out from larger units, but they will always gain abilities, most likely, as one collective unit. And since abilities are gained at the end of matches, that's no big deal because once the match ends, it's thought of narratively that they return to proper formation and remain that big group. And so I'll pretend like I'm actually going to put 2 Skitari Ranger units, 1 5-man, and we're going to put um, one like that's at 10, let's say. So there we go. And that also helps keep them distinct. Now I should mention, if you are going to do 2 5-men, because you need to keep stuff distinct, otherwise it'll bug that out, you should call this Skitari Rangers, say like squad alpha 3, and this can be squad alpha 5 or whatever, you know. The point is that whatever schema you want to use narratively, it's fine. Heck, you could also just put Skitari Rangers A, Skitari Rangers B, or Skitari Rangers 1, Skitari Rangers 2, Skitari Rangers 3, whatever you want to use. Just note that if you're using multiple different like groupings of the same thing, because you can double stuff up, keep in mind, even triple stuff up if you really want to. You don't really have too many limitations on that. Just make sure that they're uniquely named. That's all that matters. Otherwise, like it says, required must be unique. The scripting won't work. So that's the important part. So, copy that over, and now let's get into the difference. So, okay, so a normal Skitari Rangers unit is 2 power level. This unit is 6 and 10 models. It has a power rating of 4, 11, 15, power rating of 6, power rating of 16 or more, 8. And right now, this is the base cost of a 5-man unit. So, okay, so this group is worth 2 power level. Okay, but I've got that 10-man group. It's got a power rating of 4, so it's double the amount. Okay, cool. Now then, that also will matter for points, but we haven't finished building out their equipment yet. So let's make sure we do that first. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the war gear options down here and just take the regular Skitarii on my smaller group. So for what this means is that the Skitarii Rangers normally has a galvanic rifle. That's what is going to be set up here. They just normally come with this gun. That's it. That's all of them. Whether it's the Ranger Alpha or the Ranger, they all get a galvanic rifle. So we know we're going to use that. Okay, so they all get those. Well, what else do I want for them to have? Let's see. I think for the regular unit, what I'm going to do is that they're all going to just have the galvanic rifle and they're just going to hang out. We're not going to worry about outfitting the sergeant with like a melee weapon. No, no, no. I want this to be a shooty, mobile squad. All right, galvanic rifle, problem solved. 10-man squad. I want to mix and match a little bit here because as you can see, depending on your numbers, you might be given some options. So I think that since uh, I've got 10 dudes, which technically means um, we can do 2 special weapons. So we can do any 2 of any combination of arc rifle, plasma cavalier, transurbic arquebus. I want this squad to also be mobile, so I'm not going to take this one because it's a sniper. The importance of that doesn't matter though. So I'm going to make these guys mobile and a big group with some special weapons in them. So let's see here. I'm going to take, I'll take 2 plasma cavaliers in this squad. So that means in addition to the galvanic rifle, there's going to be the plasma cavalier. I like capitalizing stuff because I'm OCD. But so that's what I want. And then since I've also got 10, I really want them to have a enhanced data tether, maybe. Yeah, I'll give them the enhanced data. No, you know what? Maybe I want the Omnispecs. I'm not sure what I want. Well, that's all right. I'm workshopping. I'll think about it while I look at the rest. I also want my Alpha to switch his gear out. I'm gonna give him a melee weapon just so that he has one. You should note that he doesn't have to drop the regular gun to do this. He can just get one. So, okay. You know what? Since they both can just get one, let's put the power sword also on this guy, on the sergeant on this one just cuz I want to. So, with that, all right, I'm feeling pretty solid. And you know what? Let's just say I want the Omnispecs. No, you know what? No, I want the enhanced data tether. I don't really remember what they do. So let's just pretend for a moment that I want this. Okay, there we go. That's their equipment. No psychic powers for either of these units either. So now we can go back to the points and calculate that. So a 5-man unit means that we have 5 times 8, which for those of you that can do math in your head, that's 40 points for the entire unit. But I've also given them a power sword. Power swords cost 5, so it's actually going to be 45 here for this. Now, this is a 10-man unit. Well, so that's 10 times 8, so 80. But then I've also given them 2 plasma cavaliers for an additional 20. Now it's 100. And I've also given the one dude the arc maul, and you can see that the arc maul is at +5 again. So I have an 105 point unit here. That will be important because in a smaller matched game where we're using a smaller points limit, which you'll be doing in early games, the first few weeks will be 500 point limits. You're going to be like, oh shit, I've got this really expensive unit and I don't have enough room because, you'll probably have more like 8 things listed out here. You'll need to make sure that you think about your points so that way you have things that can fit in smaller games, things that can fit in bigger games, or things that can kind of fit in both depending on what you need. You want the versatility of points value as well. And of course, the bigger units, well, you know, they they cost more of your just overall crusade force, your massive pool to pick from for your battle rosters. So there's a lot worth thinking about here. But okay, I've got what I need. They're ready to go. Um, that's the 3 dudes that I'll put in here as examples for your teaching. So uh, we've got this on our batch edit because we're going to do the automated process. Here's what you'll do. Once you've got that all figured out, update Crusade cards. Starts the exporting process. Boop, 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 boo. It's done. It'll uncheck itself so you don't have to do anything, and you'll see it auto did the crap ones that I don't need. By the way, don't delete these. If you do, it'll mess up the automation. Just know that they're there and stick with it. Then you've got your actual first guy. I've got my marshal. He's got his battlefield role, his faction. That's not been put in yet because we haven't actually changed that currently, notably. So actually, why don't I go do that too? So, boop-a-doop-boo, they are Imperium, and you can ignore that when it comes up for drop downs. Just don't fuck with things that, like, actually matter on that end. Anyways, you'll see it auto-filled Imperium for him now. Awesome. He's all ready to go. This stuff will be mostly automated from here on out, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But yay, you've picked all of your army units. You're ready to go. All right, let's say I'm going to play a match with these guys. What'll happen is you'll go to your order of battle. You'll say use. You'll go to current, and this will be how you'll build current lists. And this is also how I'm going to track something for matches. So what's going to happen, the order for this is that you're going to put down your Crusade Force name, which will just come from what you've called them up here. So the I'm going to give them a dumb name because why not? It's fine. This is a fill in with no. You'll notice that beforehand that this didn't have any scripting on it. You see how there's no scripting up here in this FX thing? The fact that there's no scripting means that even though this thing warns me when I go to modify it, it's okay. The only time you don't want to modify something is when you get things like this up here where it has scripting. Don't touch that. It's not good. Like, doing so fucks with things. I don't know why or how or why they get mad about it, but they do. I don't know what to say. I'll put my name in here too. Yeah. So, what do I want to do? Well, how do I use this list? This one's really easy. Populate active. Oh, look, put in my that, and that. Didn't put in that for some reason. Don't need the opponent. A mission will pick. Those will be picked when you play, and you're ready to go. So, game outcome will be here. You'll get marked for greatness. That's be something you'll learn by reading the Crusade rules. So read the Crusade rules, everyone. It will teach you why some of these things matter. But just note that they're drop down, so it's cool. So okay, let's say you play a match and you had your Skitarii Marshal beat someone to death in melee. So you got 1 melee kill. And then your Rangers with the guns, they did one of each. They were doing all right. And then your big unit didn't get super close, but oh man, did they kill a bunch of stuff. Cool. You'll also get to do agendas. So like these will also be helpful, but assuming you didn't get assuming maybe you got like the second agenda or like the last agenda. So like, oh, you got 2 points for that agenda. That'll go there. The experience gained at the end of the battle that you rolled will go right here. And then, of course, you'll say if they survived. What that means is, well, did my squad get wiped during the course of the battle? Now, This doesn't mean you lose them. They do not get deleted from your list of available units. They'll just get resupplied and be back to full strength. It'll be like they took injuries but didn't fully die. Basically, the battlefield medics narratively gathered some of them, saved their lives, put them in a hospital, and they're going to recover and then be ready by the time your next match begins. But say, okay, these guys survived. These guys died, but they got a battle scar, and then this guy died, but so the reason there's three options here is you'll see this in Crusade. There's a roll you make to determine if they actually lose something. So even when they get wiped, there's a chance that nothing bad actually happens to them, and that's what no past means. But okay, hey, I've auto done it. All is good. The game is complete. Let's populate the logs. Updating unit logs, logging complete. So unit logs and battle log. First, you'll get a record of the battle you took place. Again, there was no opponent, there was no score. We didn't mark any of that stuff down because I didn't actually do one. Anyways, now then, my batch edit. Well, let's look at this. Hey, look, the game that he did is here. His melee kills are listed. His survived, his marked for greatness? No, he wasn't. Hey, look, enemy units destroyed. Kill-death ratio is 1.0. This will even give you some statistics to help you get better. Also, his experience point gain. He didn't get any, sadly. He hasn't gotten enough to actually gather any from killing things yet. But these guys did really, really well. They will get some experience points from this stuff. See, they got experience points by destroying enough things, so they have 4 experience points to use. Now, experience points, notably, you don't actually use them. You don't. It's just like D&D. It's a threshold that you need to reach. Again, all of this is under the narrative play. I'll quickly show it to you here, but basically there's a tier you have to reach. You'll get a Battle Honor, which is a free unit upgrade by reaching 6 experience points, 16, 31, and 51 respectively. You'll get a maximum of 4 on a unit. Basically, units that do well, there'll be this snowball effect where they'll start to do better off probably overall, and that'll be really, really fun. Now then, again, you'll also get other things that you'll be able to mark down here. You'll also be able to, like, when they get those battle honors, like, oh, he's battle hardened now. So now you can mark that down here, and then, oh my God, someone here, he survived and got a battle scar. All right, well, there's a table I would roll on to determine what the battle scar was. Let's just, for an example, look at one of them to show you guys. All right, so this is a regular old unit. I would roll a d6, say I got fatigued. All right, well, I'll go mark down that they are fatigued under the battle scars that they have, and there we go. That's effectively how you'll use this. You won't need to think of much else, and those are the basics of this. As you do more of this, you'll be fine. And if you want to play around to learn, again, that hypothetical, having a workshop page just so you can mess with shit and watch it work, always good. Basically, if anything, you can always come back to my official copy that I am not going to touch or fuck with. This base Crusade template, I'm going to leave it blank for you guys at all times, so it's never broken. But what you'll be able to, that way you can come back, copy a new one, be able to mess with it and learn how the automation works. Anyways, once that's done, let's do the next step, which is, hey, I've got a Crusade force, but I'm not using all of these every battle necessarily. I don't actually, my 8 units, because I'm going to fill out a proper, you guys are going to fill out a proper list with like a bunch more people. I only have the points I only have a 500 point limit for my next match. So obviously I can't take all of say I've got a bunch of dudes that are worth varying point values here, right? It means that obviously in a 500 point game, I can't take everyone. So what do I want to take? Well, here's what you'll use. BattleScribe. So when you first get BattleScribe, it's going to ask you to add data. This is going to pop up this area here. These things, they're going to be blank. What you'll do is you go add data. You'll scroll down until you find the ones that I've already got checked here, which are Warhammer 40k V Probably they'll say 9 something, but it'll be the Warhammer 40,000 that doesn't have any other modifier like on the name here. And then also the 40,000 kill team, because we're going to use kill team for the purposes of this crusade as like a spec ops thing. You'll say done, they'll be here, then you'll say done, and now that you've got that, guess what you can do? You can say, hey, all right, what you'll want to open if it's not open already. Sorry, that's because I touched stuff. Don't worry about that. What you'll want to open is the roster editor. Now, when you guys first do this, this will be what's open in the background already, probably. But if it's not, it's called the roster editor, because BattleScribe has 3 different things. It's the data editor, the index, and the roster editor. You guys, once you've done your data editor, you'll just need the roster editor from here on forward. You go to this, which is the make new roster, and this is what you'll use to build your list from match to match. This will be the thing that you'll want to use to do that because it'll make an easy, printable, readable format that actually has the profiles, the actual weapon profiles for your army will actually be on BattleScribe in an easy to read format. That's what battles, because then you won't have to scroll through this. You'll just only have the ones you're using. That'll show you how to do your range and your hits and your strength of your guns and how many shots you get. All of that, but specific to each match, BattleScribe. So, make a BattleScribe, and we'll say that this is my 500 points match 1 because I'm unoriginal and I'm not going to give them a cool name this time just for the purpose of ease of learning. And I'll be like, all right, I got my points limit set. This is my 500 point match. It's an early one in our like narrative game, and we're going to add a force. So this is where you'll pick what faction you're actually playing as. That way you can see the right units to use. So we're going to do the Adeptus Mechanicus. And it's a small game, so you'll note that there are different CPs, which are command points. The bigger ones usually like detail out something that's used for bigger matches. So I won't teach you all of that here, obviously. You can go learn that just by reading the rules for free on Wahapedia, but I'm going to use patrol here as an example. All right, this is the detachment. That's what that keyword I mentioned earlier was, detachments. Detachments are a way of grouping units in order to make sure that those army-wide bonuses work. If every model in a detachment has the same army keyword, that being Lucius, my Forge World choice, they will get all of those Mechanicus and Lucius abilities that I wanted them to have. Now, why I like BattleScribe and why it'll be helpful. It has errors. That means, hey, dum-dum, your detachment needs to have these things in order for you to get the benefits of the CP. So, you need a battle size, a warlord, an HQ, and a troop. We're going to do this in order of the stuff here. So first and foremost, whenever you start a new one, you'll need to pick a few things from configuration that won't auto show up. First and foremost, you'll need to add a battle size and then also a game type filter. The reason I want you to pick a game type filter is because I want you to pick the narrative one. Now, what does that mean? Well, narrative non-crusade, I'm suggesting we pick that instead of matched because of the difference in how they let you pick options. You could try match, but I think you'll be missing out on stuff. The exact specifics of it are also army by army because this is something that it's, again, another fan-made thing. This is free. So they're not perfectly on top of things, but they're pretty damn fucking close. So use it. All right, I've selected that. I've selected my battle size, which for this case is 0 to 500 points. And I've got my detachment. So now what do I need? Now I actually need some dudes. I need an HQ and a troop, and then I need one of my HQs to be a warlord. So, well, if we go back to what I actually made available to myself following the rules, obviously you guys will have a lot more options. Once again, I've got a Skitarii Marshal as an HQ, and Rangers of 2 different types that I could pick for this list. So, okay, well, I have to take an HQ, so I'm just going to take the only one that I gave myself, which, again, dumb. You guys will have more. But for my case, I've only got the one. And since it's the only HQ, and the only way you can get a warlord is by having an HQ be the warlord, you have to select him as the warlord. Do not take Arcana Mechanicus or these things. The reason being is clear in the Crusade rules, but put simply, Normally, when you pick a warlord, you'd get these for free. In this case, you won't get these types of things for free. You'll just get the warlord, and that's it. You won't get to pick a warlord trait or any of the relics, basically, which is what these are. And then my troops. I need a troop choice. Well, I've got two different ranger options. I could take either the big one or the small one, or because I'm allowed to in this size game, I could take both. So I'm going to take two rangers units. I'm going to make one of them be my nice 10-man squad. You can see there's my ranger and my ranger alpha, and notably my ranger alpha should have the arc maul here. And then my regular rangers are just the galvanic rifle guys. So they're all set up. Oh, but wait, I was wrong. I should only have 7 of these and 2 plasma cavalier guys. Now, it says that this is wrong. I have too many plasma cavaliers. Turns out, I think I might have been wrong about that earlier. BattleScribe will check that for you when the wording is unclear. So I was wrong about that. But hey, good news. Now I know. This should actually only be 95 points because I should be subtracting the extra 10 I put for the 2 times here. And that's another thing I should mention to you guys. Really good way to help keep track of that is you could put like 2x of these. And so this would be like, I would be doing 8x that. This would be 5x that, 1x that, 1x that, 1x that. And I will mention that I'm just realizing the reason is that the rulings under taking extra gear, they aren't like you can do both. Look at what it says wording wise. The Skitarii, for every 10 models, you can take one of these every 10 model options, not multiple of them. So, taking it every 10 models, an enhanced editor and omnispecs, I can't replace it, but that still counts as one of my for every 10 like slots. So basically what was happening is I was trying to take 2 of these, and that's a lie. I can't take 2. I did my math wrong for some reason. I don't know how I did that. But anyways, all right, I've got it right, and one of them has an enhanced data tether now. Problem solved. This should be accurate to my values, but it's not because I've done my math wrong. Why did I do my math wrong? I did my math wrong. That's very strange. I wonder what's up with that. According to this, these guys should be 8, so there should be 7 of them. Oh, and that's what I did wrong. Right, the special weapons guys are a little bit extra. That's what I was doing wrong, as you can see. So a plasma cavalier guy is no, I don't know how I did that math wrong, but that's why I like BattleScribe. It's checking this stuff for me. No one's perfect. So hey, I did it right now though, and I can go back in here and check that out. I saved 3 whole points. Wow. And that's why I suggest using all 3 of these things in tandem. BattleScribe will help check points if you're curious and are struggling with the math, which, as you just saw, even veterans will do sometimes. And if you're confused on how to actually equip them without breaking the rules, BattleScribe will help you do that. But it'll be easier to read the options on Wahapedia because unlike Wahapedia, BattleScribe requires you to select and drag and like actually pick things with the plus marks to do it. And then you have to look at what you can take and just follow the orange dot. I think Wahapedia is easier at least to just get a general scope, and then BattleScribe is better for your specifics. And now, okay, I'm all set up. Except for the last thing was that I have to give my alpha his power sword, because I did do that here. So there we go. So a 45 point and a 92 point thing. Hey, that matches up. Problem solved. All right, I'm ready. I have a 182 point list for my first match. Again, you guys are going to want to try and get these properly close to 182 to like somewhere near 500 out of 500. 499, 497, even 480 something is probably fine. That's points efficient. You're good. You don't need to always reach exactly 500 out of 500. It just won't be possible for some of you. But getting close is the ideal point. Keep in mind though that sacrificing proper symmetries and like or synergies, not symmetry, sacrificing good units just to make the number line up well, that's a bad practice, and you should not fall into that. Anyways, though, I'm ready. So I get my extra CP, and that'll tell me all this up here. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to use this list. So view the roster. Here it is. And you can see that this is much more concise. It's just got the 3 things I'm taking into battle, a couple of the special rules, and a couple of the specifics about the type of detachment I took and how many command points I'm taking and all of that stuff. So there we go. Problem solved. I'm ready to play. Um, I've got their gear and their rules set and ready. Now what? I want to print this as a PDF or physically. If you want to just take a paper copy with you, that's fine. If you don't want to bring paper with you because, say, this is starting like in a later match, this might be like several pages long and you don't want to print that, or if you don't have a printer that's free access because your school printer, which is expensive, you just want to print it to PDF. That way you can easily send it to your phone, and then all you'll have to do is you'll use your laptop to play Tabletop Simulator, and then you'll use your phone to actually have the lists in an easy way for you, while understanding, of course, that I, as referee and organizer, will know ahead of time what you guys had planned out, as will your other. Like, once both sides have submitted, I'll make those lists public. Just know that once you've submitted, you can't change them, obviously, because it would be illegal to let me to see, like I said before, it'd be illegal to let you see your opponent and then make modification based on what your opponent make. The problem is that you guys just keep doing that back and forth for days, probably, if you really wanted to win. So you won't do that. Okay, I printed to PDF, saved it to my desktop. I'm not gonna actually do that. Give it a good name so I know what it means. All of that stuff. Not sure why that's saved, but whatever. So yeah, that's how I'll use BattleScribe for both, notably, uh, and when you save it, just keep it in the same path it installs in. It's easy. Oh, I want to make a new one for Kill Team. All right, use Kill Team 2021 first off. Hopefully it won't install both. This might be an old one on my computer, but just assuming that it does use 2021, give it another name. So like this is Kill Team Match 1 for me, and then you can give it a cool name like the mm, I'm bad at names off the top of my head. It's horrible. Um, and using kill teams rules, cost limits, all of that stuff, that'll matter match to match the same way that the other ones will. For the purpose of this, I'm going to leave this alone because I don't know what your first kill team will be until I've decided on what your first point value limit is for this. And then we're going to add a force. So we're going to take a group of, let's see, let's take some Forge World boys, because that's Mechanicus. Keep in mind, your kill team needs to be drawn from is still going to be drawn from this. So, like, the types of bigger unit you take determines the types of smaller groups you can add to different, like, to your kill teams, right? So keep that in mind also, but don't let it take over too much because a lot of the times you'll have plenty of options. So I want to make a kill team list. I'm ready. Same thing, game type. It's technically a narrative. And then I want to add there's some leader options and then there's some other troop options. Oh, and look, I made the wrong choice. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Well, guess what? No problem. I can fix that. I can fix that. No problem. I want to edit the roster up here. That's how I'll do that. Oh wait, no, that's edit data. I'm sorry. Boop, 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 boop. I want to edit this roster. Where is that? Oh man, I'm actually blanking on stuff. That's unfortunate. I want to edit. I want to edit and add to my selection. D. Okay. There it is. Yeah, that's right. You click up there. Sorry, little blank dumbass on my part. Oops, I don't actually want to use those guys. Let me add the proper one when I use a Vanguard fire team. Excuse me, because I've got a lot of Vanguards in my list. So there we go. Now I'm good. Now I've got my Vanguard options. Game type, added in some narrative thing, got my leader options, got all of that. Ready to go. So that'll be how that'll work. Shouldn't be much of a problem there. I'm going to check one last thing also, just in case, for the purpose of this. Okay, kill team list. Okay. I'm sorry. I lied. 2018's probably better. We should be using 2018. Use 2018, not 2021. 2018 gives you access to way more options and it's just more fun. So, sorry about that, guys. Uh, that's the hiccup for the video. Congratulations, you got one. All right, but regardless, 2018 version, everybody. 2018, not 2021, because 2021 broke and removed a lot of fun things that I would never find enjoyable. So, there we go. You know how to use BattleScribe for both your mainline army battles and your kill team battles. That is really everything you'll need. The only thing I will suggest is that during your battles, you should have both a BattleScribe like bit up, and then you should also, I suggest at the very least, use Wahapedia specifically for this stratagems by phase thing. This part of this web page will be the only thing you can't get in an easy format on BattleScribe. Besides that, though, this will be everything you'll need to play matches. So, just a quick reminder about all of this stuff is that you need to make sure that you're getting these big things all filled out in an official, ready to go format by sometime on either Thursday or Friday. Excuse me, just burped. Sometime either Thursday or Friday, preferably. If you want, if you're not worried about participating early in matches coming next weekend, you're welcome to just send me it by Saturday or Sunday. Just note that that means you'll be a weekend behind a little bit, so it might be hard for you to stay caught up. You might always be 1 or 2 games behind everybody, but I will make pauses in the participation if someone gets too far ahead. So, say one of our players is very available every weekend, and they've already got 4 games under their belt, but there's this one dude that's been lagging behind, and he's only gotten 2 games under his belt. I will not let the guy with 4 play another game until the guy with 2 also has another game scheduled. I want the difference between the minimum and the maximum and the minimum number of games played to be no more than 2. So as long as you're somewhere within that range against everyone else, you're fine, but the disparity between any 2 persons played games will be at maximum 2. The same will go for kill team matches as well. Now, the good part about kill team matches is that those are going to be a little bit more narrative in the sense that I'm going to throw out a very specific kill team match and be like, hey, there are a couple of different things you guys could go for mission wise this time. If several people want to do the same one, there'll be multiple copies of it, so you don't need to worry about that. But um, besides that, all of the info, including this YouTube video, is going to be in the D&D Club's Crusade stuff channel, along with a lot of the links that you'll need to these resources I've given you, including things like the modifications I have made to some of the things that we're going to be doing. So things like reminders on how the points are going to work for our Crusade stuff. So like, hey, the modifications on like we're going to do points instead of power level for matches, and then the kill team matches being included also, the win condition specifically, and the win thing, as long as my participation tracker here, which will be really helpful, because that way anyone who's playing, we know how many, like how far away everyone is. What you'll do is that, hey, I've played 0 matches, so I'll select 0. And then once you play your first one, unselect 0 and then select 1. In my case, I already had 1 selected, so what I just did unselected it, but that's okay. So I'm going to fix that now. Off camera, but you get the idea. That is everything you'll need, though, ladies and gentlemen. So, um, happy wargaming. Looking forward to it. And please, if you need a practice match or anything like that, please reach out to those that are participating. I'll make the official player roster an announcement along with this video in the future. And don't forget, send me your spreadsheet link. I need it. That's your entry ticket. You have to give me that. If you don't give me that, you don't get play. All right. Again, happy wargaming. I'm so excited to have you all trying this out, and I'm really looking forward to facilitating it and running it for you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. Bye.